Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 11 of Exploring Genuine Transformation. For those of you who came on when we tried this the first time, hoping that you come and join us back today or again. My name is Lori Beth Coldman. I go by Lori Beth on Facebook. And we've almost had 3 months of this show. And it's been such a pleasure and an honor, and I've learned so much from interviewing different teachers, coaches, healers, thought leaders in the realm of transformation. And really what this show is about is exploring transformation for the sake of having more of yourself, for the sake of waking up, for the sake of freedom, for the sake of living life in a good human way. So today we have a very special guest, George Bertelstein. I'm still not seeing him on here, so hoping that he hops on in a moment and I'm able to add him, and then we will get started. So hi Jaya, hi Hernan, nice to see you both. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see. Still doesn't say that he's on here. This is what happened the last time. So hoping that he comes on soon and that we figure this out. Let's see. I'm not sure why it's not registering him as watching. Wow, this is just one of those technology days. I'm actually going to use my computer to try to see if I can reach him to make sure that we can get him on, since this is the second time that we've had this struggle. Thank you. Oh, here we go. Thank you everyone for sitting tight. And now I will add him. It says it's connecting. Yay!
Hi.
Hi.
I feel like I'm on the wrong side. Sorry for my technological glitch here.
Oh, no problem.
Good.
So happy to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. I'm honored to be here. It's good to see you.
Yeah. So good to see you too. George has been a teacher and a mentor of mine, and I haven't seen him in probably a couple of years. So I'll start with an introduction. So this is George Bertelstein. He is a spiritual community leader and a mentor and a teacher, and he's just beloved to so many and has been such a profound profound mentor and teacher, like I said, to so many of us, especially in the younger generation, but even in all generations. And he is the leader and founder of Medicine Path, a Native American church that is in Berkeley. And he's also just written a book that I'll show you on the screen, although it's backwards, A Clear and Simple Prayer. And yeah, George has helped me immensely in my life in just showing up for what life is bringing and looking at it honestly. And the biggest takeaway for me, and there's so many, is and just staying in my business, and getting out of what's not in my business. And what's not in my business is anything that's not really happening for me, or anything that's happening for another human that I don't need to necessarily be involved with. Although obviously being compassionate, kind, and loving for everything that is our business. So that's my introduction. I'd love for you, George, to share, more about yourself. I also would say that he is a beloved husband and also a father to an amazing. Is she 9 or is she 10 now?
She's going to be 10 September 1st.
Whoa.
Yeah, big milestone.
Oh, wow, she's the same brother as my birthday, or my Birthday is my brother. Well,
And probably the same brother as your birthday too.
that's right.
Yeah, she's going to be 10. That's a big deal.
Oh,
It's a
oh.
decade.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, so sweet.
Hmm.
Yeah, and George, he can go into it more, but he works with different, the Chanupa and different medicines in a dome. And one thing I have always loved about Medicine Path is just how much orientation there is towards family and how much like the spiritual path is everything. So much of my experience in different spiritual paths has been like, it's like I'm on the cushion by myself, kind of meditating, instead of it actually kind of including everybody, and especially the little ones. So love that.
Yeah, we
um,
love it too. It's getting to be more little ones all the time too.
because everybody's making good
That's
prayers
right.
for
And
little
making new
ones.
ones, new little ones.
Making new ones, and here
Yeah.
they, yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we went from everybody on their own cushion to developing some kind of intention to have some childcare, to having childcare,
Mhm.
to having babies, toddlers, infants, kids.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a pretty amazing process.
Mhm. And kind of coming in and out, like
Yeah.
probably breastfeeding and the all
Yeah.
kinds of things
All of the
happening.
above, whatever you can think of. Plus the hilarity, they're actually playing right outside during ceremony. So the seamlessness of the integration of family life
Mhm.
and children and adults and
Mhm.
parents having to get up and go outside because their kids screaming and then coming back in because their kids stop screaming and it's just really it's very
Mm.
precious.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh. Mm. Yeah, I feel warmed by that scene, and also because I've been in that environment, so I know
Hmm.
the both the sacredness and just the kind of normalness to
Yeah,
human life, right?
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
just it's the path for human beings.
Mm-hmm,
Have
mm-hmm,
children, get old, die, get sick, have problems, have to go to the DMV, all the stuff that we need to do and raise kids too
mm-hmm,
and be raised by them.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. So, do you want to say that's kind of a beginning to sort of, you know, um, maybe share a little bit about what you do, and also, you know, I mean, we'll go into your book a little bit, but just even starting there, like what, if you could kind of succinctly say your message, or what your teaching is.
Hmm.
That's probably a big order, a tall order, but in a couple of sentences,
Hmm.
or a paragraph, it would be great to kind of give our viewers a sense of who you are, and yeah, and the work that you're doing.
Okay, well that's a really good beginning point. So I think that what we're trying to teach people is to reduce their opposition to themselves and to others, and that's the path to peace. So
Mm-hmm.
how we do that is, we teach about that, but primarily the medicines that we use teach that. They
Mm-hmm.
actually make people feel connected and not isolated, and they open the heart for free so that one has the opportunity to learn what that might feel like. When your brain is not dictating how you behave and what you're doing, but your heart is, then your behavior becomes very different. And sometimes, we try to develop thinking around our newly found open hearts. And, we don't have the terminology for it. So part of growing up is learning to speak about what we're doing and what we're not doing so that we can have an intelligent conversation about it without, parsing it or pulling it apart or, you know, dividing it into spreadsheets. So it's just making everything that seems very complicated very simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Beautiful. And what I'm hearing too is like it's the medicines help open the heart, and then from that place, there's things become much more simple in terms of just what communication needs to happen, what doesn't need to happen, what's the next step forward
Yeah,
in
well,
any moment.
well put. I mean, I think that the thing is really learning that our thoughts are very complex, but our lives aren't really very complicated at all. So,
Mm-hmm.
we have complex thoughts about a very simple topic, which is like, can we give and receive the love? Can we be kind? Can we return to love and kindness when we're upset about things? Do we really need to spend so much time justifying our upsets and angers and controversies? Is being angry and right an improvement over being loving and kind? these are the questions that we have to answer with our brains, but our
Mm-hmm.
hearts, having been opened, are hungry for that feeling, the feeling of peace and the feeling of connection and the feeling of
Mm-hmm.
non-opposition. So this is the legacy of what the indigenous peoples throughout the world who have had access to medicines are offering us, is to come at the world in a different way. Instead of our minds being gods, then we could let God be God, which is a different experience. And then we can sort of ungrapple ourselves from the need to be God. It's the difference between saying that someone is divine or we come from divinity. That's all very lovely and very true for sure, but the truth is we're not God. So, the intelligence that runs the universe is not this intelligence or even that intelligence. The intelligence that runs the universe is something that we really don't understand, but we can feel it. We can feel its love and its acceptance and its embrace. And that's what we're offering. That's what we're teaching. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the essence of what the medicines have to offer to us. And we just relay that, and with some very helpful suggestions about how we could look at things, our lives, and others differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, one of the thoughts that I just had when you were speaking was that it's like the medicines open the heart. They show how simple it can be. But then, I mean, I know that your book and also your words, because, I've heard them in many different moments and I have to hear them over and over again
Hmm.
to get the lesson in, actual lived time.
Hmm.
Um, but that those words of asking, like, some of those simple pointings, they point to the lessons that they point to what the medicine's already opened up inside. So there's like a felt sense of something that's happened before.
Hmm.
Like, oh, now I know what this feels like to not be in opposition with myself.
Hmm.
Okay, now I'm in another moment, and now I'm in opposition with myself. Like, I can. It's like an awareness. I can choose to continue to be in opposition with myself, or I can choose to let go of that and come back to the heart.
Yeah, and I think the thing you said earlier about like being on a cushion in your spiritual practice, it's really just having an interactive spiritual practice instead of you being you versus you. It's like you with everything that's challenging to you is present in your life all the time, except when you're sleeping. And then even when we're sleeping, of course, we make up stuff to be challenged by. But it's like everything that your intention about your life, how you wish to be, it's the opposite is offered to you so you can see it, and then hopefully or fundamentally you could decide if you want to make some changes, as you said, in any given moment. In any given moment you may not want to. I mean, you may just decide you need to have a fit, or you need to be
Mm-hmm.
mad, or you need to stomp your little feet, or whatever it is you need to do. You're allowed to do that. It's like you're the one that's going to determine when you will return to love and kindness, because it just doesn't feel good to keep that stuff up. It's like when little kids are having a tantrum, what's the technique that you use? Well, part of it is embracing them. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
which is really communicating, I love you how you are. I love your feelings, and I'm not going to tolerate this behavior because you could harm yourself or harm someone else. And then bringing it back to how do they feel? Are you enjoying the feeling that you're having?
Mm-hmm.
Initially, everybody loves freaking out. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it's like we get tired of it and then we don't have an exit strategy. So the medicine, basically, its only exit strategy is you prefer the feelings of love.
Yeah.
So that's that's the strategy. So taking it out of the moral realm or taking it out of a
Mm-hmm.
religious imperative, we're not a religion, we're a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of spiritual practices, and the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
practices all do the same thing, which is it helps you, it helps me to decide when I'm ready to let go of my attachment to my suffering and return to love and kindness so that I can move forward.
Mm-hmm. I love that example so much of such a beautiful example of the child too, because I mean, with children, obviously we want to be giving them that agency and that
Hmm.
choice, but that's what I'm hearing in all of what you're saying,
Hmm.
that it's really like the medicine is always available. There's love and kindness are always available.
Hmm.
Like, we can always make the choice to be like, okay, you know, we might be struggling in the tantrum. We might not know exactly how to come back,
Hmm.
but then we can also ask for help, about how to come back to love and kindness if we don't know how. But that it just implies so much choice, in the matter.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, considering the work that you do, you have to decide what you're going to give your attention to as far as other
mhm,
people's behaviors. So it's like sometimes it's very constructive to just leave people alone, let them do what they're going to do, and this is
mhm,
true of children and adults too. Sometimes you just have to, like, I wouldn't call it ignoring, but it's like, what's your play? What are you supposed to be doing? So, the image of, like, helicopter parenting, we're soothing, or we're, choppering in, or whatever we're doing a medevac to save everybody from their feelings. It's like, I don't think it's our job to save people from their feelings. It's like they're going to figure out what feelings they want to have, and all we're doing is honoring the fact they're having feelings, and maybe they like some other feelings better. And what the medicine does is it shows you what those other feelings are, and that it's possible to maintain them over some period of time. So
mhm,
initially, you might go to a ceremony and you might be there a total of 10 or 12 hours, and you might spend 5 of them feeling your heart open and connected with other people. And then you're going to go home, and maybe that's the weekend. And by Wednesday, you're right back where you were. So, people say,
mhm,
well, it's addictive. I have to go back and do it again. Well, the interesting thing about it, it's not addictive. What it is it shows you, oh, I could go somewhere and instantaneously I can reconnect with these feelings that I really like. It isn't to make the other ones wrong. They're not wrong. They're just not fun. So,
mhm,
what we're learning to do is like the pleasure of our existence, instead of, thinking of it as hedonism, what we're thinking of it is, if I'm happy, the whole world is happy. If I'm peaceful, the whole world is more peaceful. If I'm
mhm.
less judgmental or attached to things that cause me or other people
Yeah.
suffering. Do you see what I'm saying? And then
Mhm,
healing becomes local instead of global. I don't think there's a possibility of global healing. I think
mhm,
it's all local. So that's pretty much what the medicine has to say too. It means not that there isn't a global effort. There are millions of people around the world who are full of love and peace, who are walking around being human beings and doing the very best they can. And that number, as far in my observation, is increasing all the time. And the refinement of the ways in which people are loving and kind with one another, it's proceeding apace. And the medicine is just a part of that. The medicine is not driving it, and it's not even, the medicine always waits to be asked for help. It's not seeking us out, but we're seeking it out. We're saying, what do I need to do to soften, open, and allow my life to occur? And the medicine says, well, I'm here, I could help you. Do you want help? And so we have to ask. And the same is true of your therapist or your yoga teacher or your meditation teacher or your chiropractor. It's like you have to go and you have to ask for help, and you also have to be willing to say what it is. So in the past, what we've done is we've processed, which means we decide that the cause of my upset feelings or the cause of my suffering is perhaps grounded in my childhood, or the fact that I wasn't, breastfed adequately, or whatever it is, whatever our individualized complaint is. And then the truth is, those things work fine until you're about 30, and then you just run out of excuses. You're in a loop. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you could do another 30 years, but then you're going to be
mhm,
60, and you're going to be pretty embarrassed by the fact that you're still blaming your mom, who probably isn't alive anymore, for all of your problems. So it's like,
mhm.
whose fault is it? Well, then we go, oh, it's my fault. I'm like this, I'm like that. Well, all you're doing is describing your humanity. Your humanity is, honestly, we don't know
Yeah.
what the hell's going on from one minute to the next. We don't understand anything. As
Mhm.
my wife likes to point out, we don't even understand how you can convert cabbage into more us, but it happens anyways. You see what I'm saying? We have no idea. We have no idea, like, why, a certain protein works for us or it doesn't work for some. We don't even know. All we know is the mechanics of it. But why it
Mhm.
works or what's making it work, et cetera, we don't know anything about that. And we also don't even begin to grasp the absolute miracle of the fact that we're alive. I mean, my God, if you wake up 50, 60 times a day going, whoa, I'm breathing. Whoa, I just blinked my eyes. Whoa, I'm listening. Oh, I'm talking. You see what I'm saying? And it's like people want to talk to me. You see what I'm saying? It's like everything is amazing. It's amazing. And it's not like, oh, amazing. It's just genuinely amazing. It's just all a bunch of miracles. And the great thing about getting older and having witnessed people who are very ill and dying is they're here one minute and then they're not here anymore.
Mhm.
So that makes the fact that they were here even more miraculous. So all we're doing is we're just sort of identifying what is miraculous and learning to honor that without being pious. It's like
Mhm.
piety is just, you want to be pious, then you get to be pious. But if you want to be honoring and amazed by your life, that will make you feel better about yourself and everybody else.
Mhm.
So the medicine can help you with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
teachings are all just pointing at what the medicine is saying. I mean, that's all they are. The Buddha said, I'm just the finger pointing at the moon. It's like, and the moon is a reflection of the sun, which we can't look at. If we look at the sun directly, it blinds us. So all medicine people and teachers and counselors and therapists and yoga teachers are doing is we're just fingers and we're pointing at somewhere and go, no, really, it's over there. And everybody's looking at us going, well, you're just a person. It's just like, we know we're just people. It's okay. It's okay. You're just a person too. And someday you'll be a big important teacher too. And everybody will be looking at you going, but she's just a person. She's just a person. You see what I'm saying? But it's like you're not telling them stuff you know. You're telling them stuff you have learned from something that knows
Uh-huh.
everything. And
Mhm.
you just know what you know. Like my book is what I understand about what the medicine has taught me for the last 30 years. Does that mean I know everything about the medicine? I don't know anything about the medicine. My book is my confession about how little I know. But I know how I want to feel in my life,
Mhm.
so I can follow, I can track that feeling. If I'm not feeling the way I want to feel, I could change my behavior or I could leave a situation that's not working for me. But if I have to battle it out with everything, no, I got to get this the way I want it to be. It's not going to be the way I want it to be. It's going to be the way it is. As you said, it is what it is.
Yeah. Mm. There's so many good jewel nuggets in there. I'm like, there's so many different places that we could go. Yeah, I'm curious maybe if you want to give an example of even a situation in your life or somebody's life of kind of hitting that opposition and then the choice to kind of go in a different direction and what that looks like, what
Yeah,
that can look like practically.
it's a good question. So the experiment that we're doing in our house is we have this 10-year-old daughter, almost 10-year-old daughter. And so all we do is we just teach and try to behave the way the medicine has taught us to and see what she does. Instead of like lecturing her about stuff, in the biblical sense of, commandments and imprimaturs and, you know, guidelines, et cetera, all we really fundamentally teach is, let's move forward. How soon can we return to love? And we don't make the hard feelings wrong.
Mhm.
So, it doesn't mean we want to sit and be abused. It just means it's just like, I see you're happy, let me know when you're done with that because there's other stuff we can do. And we don't really use punishment. It's like it doesn't do anything except make people feel resentful. So it's punishment enough to feel horrible when you could
Yeah,
feel better. So as
yeah,
long as everybody is not engaged in some collective strategy about, oh my God, this is a tragedy, we all feel horrible, and we've blown it and our family sucks, which is part of the drama of TV, for instance. It's like, coming to a conclusion. It's just like it's just a moment. This moment is arising. It's on. It's painful. Uh-oh, it's passing away. Uh-oh, we've moved on. Now we're eating eggs. So
mhm,
that's pretty much the way life really is. That's really
uh-huh,
what the red road is. There is nothing else to it.
mhm,
Somebody dies, it's like we can, oh my God, he or she or it shouldn't have died, blah, blah, blah. We have all of our feelings about it. It's an
mhm,
injustice. We're angry. We're hurt. We're lonely. We're isolated. We've lost our mom or our dad or our friend or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. We have all of our feelings. What are we going to do? We're going to move forward with love and kindness. If we don't, we'll just be miserable. So it's really simple. It's really elementary. So the proof isn't the adults. What a 72-year-old man does doesn't mean anything to anybody. What a 10-year-old does means everything to people
mhm.
because she is the future and she lives in this present moment. So we can watch her. It's like, is this working? We can watch her. If it wasn't working, then we would just be blah, 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 like a lot of teachers are. And it wouldn't be real. Our child would be disaffected and, our family would be dysfunctional. But our family works really well. It's not perfect, but we don't need it to be perfect. We just need it to move. We need to be moving forward. so that the
Hmm.
10-year-old could potentially be 11, so that the 72-year-old could potentially be 73. That's all we're trying to do here today. Yeah, we're trying to get moving forward. We're okay. We're doing good here.
That's such a beautiful example. I mean, also obviously because we're talking, I mean, I love what you said about her being 10 and that children do tend to do exactly what you're saying. It's like, oh, I have my feelings, I'm feeling them, and now I'm in the next moment, and they're not holding on to
Hmm.
anything. There's no story about it. I mean, usually at 10, there are often can be a story,
Hmm.
but with extremely young children, obviously that's totally how it goes. They don't even remember the last moment.
Hmm.
So in some ways, that's what I'm hearing you say. It's like it's that simple to just say, okay, I'm having my, like, this is happening, I mean, if we can, it's simple but not easy,
Hmm.
but I'm having my feelings about this situation, about this circumstance, and wow, I'm resisting it. Okay, I can stop resisting it. I can actually just come back to, this is what's happening right
Hmm.
now, and then let that all happen, and then the next moment happens, and beyond to a new moment,
Yeah,
and
and
let life flow like that.
it's like, what's the difference between adults and children is adults make up stories about what's happening to
Hmm.
create an idea of cause and effect, which we think is very comforting, but actually it's not comforting at all. It's like all it is finding out who's to blame for the upset. It's like
Yep.
everything other than our humanity is all elective. Everything that we decide that we're suffering about, other than the fact that we're born, that we grow up, that we get old, that we get ill, that we die, that we lose everything. I mean, that everybody deals with that, but everything other than that, we made all that up. So if we say, because so and so is doing such and such, I am, I am losing something. I cannot be happy. It's like I would question that remark. I would question it. The medicine would question that. It would think that was ridiculous. The medicine has a great sense of humor about these kinds of things. It would just like pretty much like stick its tongue in its cheek and go, "Oh, really?" Do you see what I'm saying? Because we're making these statements all the time. But the truth is, in the presence of creation, in the presence of the sacraments that God has offered us to talk to God about our nature, about what our relationship is with ourselves, with each other, and with creation, God says, no, this is all on the bell curve. This is what you got. I hope you like it, but if you don't, I can't do anything about that. You're going to have to figure out a way to like it. So you like it because you love it. You love your life. Everybody loves your life. People kill themselves because they love their life so much they can't stand it, that their life's not the way they want it to be. Yeah, everybody's madly in love with their life. So, the more suicidal people are, the more upset they are that their beautiful life that they adore does not seem to be the way they want it to be, and they've invented a bunch of stories about why that's so. And sometimes the principal cause is another person or a circumstance, or it's them, and so they're killing the thing that they believe is destroying their beautiful life, when nothing's destroying their beautiful life except them, their thoughts, their thinking, their lack of inattention to the feelings of love and peace that everybody has. We all have it. Sometimes it's just the softest voice in the room, though.
Yeah, I've never heard you speak about suicide in that way before, and it makes a lot of sense, obviously, because we're holding on to some desire that we have for life, right? So
Hmm.
that is sort of, it's like, I love life so much that I want it to happen this way.
Hmm.
Um, I'm curious how you would, I mean, whether it's around somebody who's feeling really depressed or, in that case, suicidal, kind of how you might counsel someone in terms of kind of being able to let go of the story, in order to feel the goodness that's there. Because that's really what I'm hearing you say, is that,
Hmm.
we're really in opposition with ourselves because we're constantly creating stories.
Hmm.
Like that's based, right? We're constantly trying to figure out in our minds, like, why this is happening, why this is
Hmm.
happening, why this isn't happening. And, I mean, we are incredible storytellers, actually.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, we love it, and we're so good
Yeah.
at it. Yeah, it's not wrong. It's what we do. But the thing about it is becoming a story is suffering.
Hmm.
So, I mean, you said, what would I do? It's like, I'm not quite sure how I do it, but pretty much what I do is I show somebody that there's something about the story that they're telling that's bullshit, without saying
Mhm.
bullshit. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
like, oh, really? Is that true? You know, huh? What makes you think that? You know,
Mhm.
it's like I'm just fascinated in how the stories get engendered. It's like when people feel within themselves that what they're manufacturing, the story that they're manufacturing, isn't grounded in anything real other than the fact that they're very upset about something they can't
Yeah.
control, then it changes. So it's like how people do that. That depends on, who's
Mhm.
counseling you and where they're coming from. And
Yeah.
but I would say that's pretty much endemic. You go to see any healer, and that's what they're going to do. If they
Mhm.
use an object, or they use, medicines of different kinds, or they use their words, or they use their body language or dance or whatever, they're disabusing you and removing you from something you're stuck in temporarily. So in the future, you might make a decision to unstick yourself from that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It reminds me, I mean, I feel as a human, and you know this because you know me, like I, from a young age, have just felt such intense emotions. I continue to feel really hard
Hmm.
emotions, almost, I mean, on a daily basis for sure.
Hmm.
But the difference that in the last couple of years, what's really ameliorated my suffering is not being in the story of it,
Hmm.
just letting the feeling come. I don't even, like, at this point, it's like sometimes they don't even come, that they're not even about anything,
Yeah.
just a feeling that's kind of moving through. Um, so it is such a powerful practice to, I mean, both help people to kind of see the story that they're embedded in that they're not even realizing, but also that when we tell a story about an emotion or about an experience, about something that happens, that that then creates more feelings, right? That creates a whole
Hmm.
cascade of other terrible feelings, such as wanting to die or,
Hmm.
like the severity of depression in my experience was that it wasn't, it's the severity of depression when I have experienced that, it has nothing to do with the feelings that I'm feeling. It has
Hmm.
to do with the story that I've created about the feelings and about what I think is going on.
Yeah,
So it,
100%.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, and totally exactly what you said earlier about kids. That's what I see in kids. I see kids, they're upset. I mean, my wife always says, she's just tired. I go, come on now, because the drama that comes out of her being tired is so all inclusive. It's fascinating, right? It's just like, she's making up some amazing story. Well, she's a very creative person. So it's like,
mm-hmm,
why would she not make creative stories? Why would she make a stupid story about something that's so dramatic? And then,
yeah,
what I see her doing is just like, she just drops it because it's not going anywhere for her.
mm-hmm,
And she would prefer whatever the alternative is, which is maybe just some peace, or maybe the love, or maybe she wants to watch TV, or, some alternative to being upset. But the story is very alluring, and invariably, it's just as accurate as any other story,
mm-hmm,
right? It's just any
yeah,
story you make
yeah,
up is just as good as
right.
any other story.
Yeah, we're meaning making machines, we're just continually
Thank you.
making it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So, I was counseling this woman today, and I said, your stories are great. It's like they're all perfectly great stories, except they don't go anywhere. I mean, all they lead to is the conclusion that you suck, your life sucks, and everybody else sucks, and it's not going to get any better. And this particular person, I can honestly say, that's not your experience. Your experience is, you make some intentions and your whole life changes, and you don't even know what the hell's causing it. So it's
yeah.
like, you know, if you can't make up a story about the cause and effect of your healing, because there is no cause and effect. You just asked for help, and the help arrived, and you couldn't have foreseen what the form of it might be, right? And I said, okay, which do you trust, that or these terrible stories that you're making up, which don't have a beginning, middle, or an end? They're just stories.
Mhm.
So there's nothing wrong with the stories. They're just not very accurate.
Mhm. Well, it's so interesting what you just said too, because we don't question always where the healing came from, right? But we
Hmm.
sit there and we kind of obsess about why life isn't going how we want it to
Hmm.
go or what's hard. So it's just interesting, right? You don't think, I mean, sometimes we might be like, oh, I worked with this person or I did this healing and it
Hmm.
helped. But overall in my life, I've been, on a deeply healing journey for like over 20 years. I
Hmm.
can't really say the one thing that, I can't say the things that have actually led to that. And I can just as easily be creating a story in any moment that, like, wow, look at how this is moving forward. Look at all
Hmm.
that's healed, versus look at, how hard it's been, or how challenging this situation was, or, my entire life was. I mean, I see it so clearly as a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's also, I think, it can be a very hard choice for people based on conditioning, and also
Mm-hmm.
based on, one thing I've been thinking about in this conversation is the nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
because I work a lot with people's nervous systems, and kind of in somewhat of a, some of the tools that you're speaking of, like really helping people to rewire that,
Mm-hmm.
to notice when they're having those hard moments in the nervous system, and then be able to shift it. But like you said, and like what I'm feeling inspired by and listening to what the medicine does and my experience with medicine, but also in doing in listening to what you're doing with, Josie, and like your daughter, and all of that, is it feels like there's always something to go towards, that it's like opening to the love, the kindness, the beauty, what you said, like watching TV, like that there's actually other things available in the moment, which is actually also how the nervous system heals.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It heals through, that you actually, if you're too triggered by something, you move your attention into something
Mm-hmm.
else that feels more pleasurable,
Mm-hmm.
that feels tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
And then that starts to kind of create a shift. So feels like also the medicine and your teachings are all about, it's essentially a path to shifting kind of our neural pathways and how we're wired.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
also just we're given all this equipment. It's like it's all real, like exactly what you're talking about. It's like we know how to heal ourselves. Everybody knows how to do it. Okay,
Mm.
it's like, do you wanna? So if you have an alluring story, and that's your proclivity, is to tell these stories, and the stories are constantly leading you into more darkness, you're probably going to end up dead or diseased at a young age. But if your stories are leading you to less darkness and more light, then your stories are part of your healing, no matter how horrible your stories might have been. It doesn't matter what it is. The mechanism is what works. So it's like more light, less suffering; more darkness, more suffering. You know, honoring our physics, the physics of our humanity, our biology, our botany, the physics of how we are is actually how we work. The medicine has told me quite often, I don't do anything that's beyond physics. Everything I do is possible because of physics. It's all real world stuff. So it's not magic. It's medicine. Medicine works with the law of physics to produce healing. What is healing? Healing is becoming more whole. If that's your prayer, I only want to feel more whole in my life, not less whole, then everything you do will be healing, because that's all healing is. The idea that we're broken and that what healing is repairing a broken thing is not true. The medicine says there's nothing wrong with any of you. If a person with cerebral palsy can be out in the street and they can't even talk, all they can do is use a stick to move something on a keyboard and produce some speech, and they're perfectly happy doing whatever they're doing, then there's nothing wrong with me, for sure, even though I'm old, and I have the infirmities of whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like I don't really feel sorry for myself. But when I was younger, I felt very sorry for myself. I felt very sorry for all my limitations and my incapacities and my everything that I decided was not enough about me. So it's like I could say, yeah, my family or whatever contributed to all those stories. Of course they contributed stories. They're all telling their stories,
Yeah.
but I'm in charge of deciding which stories are meaningful for me. And it takes some years to figure out what those are. It's like, everybody is always making stuff up. We are storytellers, and we make
Yeah.
stuff up. And it's like, if I make up stuff that's good, then everybody's happy. If I make up stuff that's bad, then everybody's mad at me. It's the same with the little kids. They're just making stuff up, right? So my daughter's exceptionally intelligent. Of course, she's my daughter. She's exceptionally intelligent. I have an older one. She's exceptionally intelligent. I'm very proud of both of them. But their exceptional intelligence doesn't mean they're right. It just means they're clever. So sometimes being smart is not an advantage at all. It's painful, because you can
Oh, yeah.
just find another quarter to go down to explain more stuff to yourself about why stuff isn't the way you want it to be, when it could just be that your neurology's frazzled. I would say my daughter Josie's neurology is pretty much constantly frazzled. She's a very sensitive person. Too hot, too cold, too buzzy, too loud, too this, too that, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, no, stop, et cetera, et cetera. And yet she's a perfectly normal person. So we
Hmm.
could neuroticize her behavior
Yeah.
and say, okay, well, you're just, you're too sensitive, or you're too much, or the world's too much for you. Or we could just let her deal with the world on her terms, which is pretty much what she does. So she makes choices. If this is too much for me, then this isn't a good thing for me to do. If
Yeah.
it's too much for me, but I want to do it anyways, then there's courage. I can ask for courage. I can ask for help. So she's negotiating these pathways of her life, and we're not pretending as though she's not her. She's her. You see what I'm saying? Just like you're you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get to be Lori.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think also what you were just sharing, it's, I mean, I love it's so beautiful. And I think what you said it at a certain point, like it takes time in this way of being, right? Because we're so conditioned to do something different. I mean, even the way you're raising Josie is, it's so different. I think like that she has the medicine, she has the teaching to be like, to see, okay, I'm going this way, and now I'm being, now you guys are there for her to explore. Does that work for her? Does that not work for
Mm-hmm.
her? Like that she's getting to, she's being guided to be her own human and to make those decisions for herself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it makes me think of like a kid putting their hand on the stove and it's like, oh, that's hot, like am I going to do that again,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. um, and it seems like for those of us that are older and we've had a lot more years of conditioning and in all, especially in going down kind of a negative loop potentially, it takes time to me it's another repatterning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes time to implement the teachings that you're sharing, or that the medicines are sharing.
Yeah, and also it's important to understand, what the Buddha said was, he said, all our behavior is conditioned. Anything that's conditioned can become unconditioned.
Yeah.
Buddha didn't say tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
He just said,
Yeah.
recognizing our conditioning allows us to change our conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't say it's wrong or bad to be conditioned. It's no more wrong or bad to have been conditioned the way we believed we were conditioned
Yeah.
than it is to recondition ourselves in whatever ways we think are appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
take somebody off the street and they're a perfectly normal, kind, loving person, and you condition them to be a Nazi, it's like, that's reconditioning. Their
Mm-hmm.
kindness was conditioned and their Nazism can be conditioned too. So it's just sort of like, we're choosing. That's our sovereignty, is determining what it is, what the norm might be. So we're fighting that all the
Yeah.
time, right? It's like,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
social media, and we have opinion makers, and we have TV, and we have things. People are talking to us all the time about how things ought to be, including people who are extremely well-meaning and kind and loving, but they're also angry and right about a bunch of stuff they don't know anything about. So it's
Yeah.
like we're trying to learn to listen to what it is the Creator has to say to us about our own humanity and honor the humanity of other people without getting too involved in anybody's stories. It's like you get involved in any story, pretty soon it's going to get you to the gateway of intolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Well, it's
I don't want to be intolerant. I've already done that.
Yeah. Well, I love that too because as you know, like I've been practicing in Buddhist lineages for many, many years,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that like and also in the path of non-duality, it's like that's what you're speaking of,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the story is the duality. It's like this is either right or wrong,
Mm-hmm.
or this is either this or this other thing, rather than it actually. I mean, the word that you haven't used as much in this interview, but I've obviously heard you use many times, is acceptance, and
Mm-hmm.
it keeps coming to mind because it's like all of this requires a certain. It's just an acceptance of like, all right, I'm on the path. I'm sovereign. I'm choosing to do this differently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm accepting that I fall down like maybe every other step, and then
Mm-hmm.
I get back up and I do it differently, or I fall into duality because that's what we've been trained to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, I think that I'm right, or I think that I'm better, or I think that I'm worse, and then I come back, and it's like that choice is always available. I mean, really, it's a mindfulness practice in
Yeah,
essence.
it is, and also it's honoring the fact that we actually do have a bicameral mind. Our mind actually is divided into two parts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way our reasoning system works. There's nothing wrong with our reasoning system. except that we can't run our life by it. Okay, it's like if you want to fix something, and you're going to try to do it by, you go get a screwdriver and you apply it and you say, oh, this thing doesn't work, I need something different. And then you go to the toolbox and you get a hammer and you hit it with a hammer. You didn't make an error when you went and got the screwdriver, you just didn't know which tool you were going to use, so you hit it with the hammer. Then you go, okay, from now on I'm going to use this tool because this tool can do everything, right? But of course you find out that hitting everything with a hammer is not necessarily the best idea in the planet. And so you go, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, because you had your bicamerality, which was screwdriver or hammer. It turns out it's neither screwdriver nor hammer. There's a Buddhist teaching about this. It's called, pen, notebook. It's the same thing. It's just like, which is more important, the pen or the notebook? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It doesn't matter. It's like, we're not here to chicken or egg, and we're not here to hammer or screwdriver. We're just here to be in the moment and determine what is the best thing for us to do in the moment. Sometimes we don't know. We don't know because our bicameral mind doesn't have an option. It just goes, well, you could do this or you could do that. It's like, but I don't want to do either one of those things. I don't want it to be good, nor do I want it to be bad. I want it to be part of my humanity. So what the medicine does is, the medicine does not see the dualism. It really doesn't. I mean, we're always ascribing genderized behavior or attitude towards medicine, but it actually doesn't have any at all. It's non-gendered. So what we're doing is we're imposing our point of view about ourselves onto plants, onto plants and things that are very mysterious to us. And it's not true. It's not accurate. But it's not mad at us for that. It just goes like we do with a little kid. Oh, okay, I see where you're at with that. That's fine. You can use that. Use it as a metaphor. You love metaphors. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just like, it's trying to work with us. It's not working against us. It's not mad at us. So it doesn't ever think we're doing anything wrong. We're the ones that think we're doing something wrong, because either we're doing something wrong or somebody else is doing something wrong. So the truth is, what the medicine is teaching and what the water teaches principally is that this is going to go on and on and on. We're not done, and we are not the apex of anything. We're just people, and we're in an evolution, and it's fascinating, and we all get to be where we're at in it. But what are we evolving towards? Well, non-dualistic thinking is a pretty elevated practice. It's not a just don't think dualistically. It's like, try it, kids. It's really hard. Do it at home, where it's really, it's like somebody's spouse or whatever is yelling at them about something, and where they're coming from is from their point of view. They're absolutely right about something. How could you possibly fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank? And what's the answer? The answer is either defensive, or the answer is just like, wow, I'm really sorry. Maybe I made a bad decision, or I don't know. I don't know will probably get you where you want to go, but very few people are going to use that answer. I don't know, right?
Well, actually, that just made me think that's one of the core ways that I could see, at least in my experience of getting out of that kind of that mind that is, the dualistic mind. It's like, okay, maybe I don't know right now, and then something new comes in, right? That isn't me trying to think about it.
Yeah.
Or trying to know something that, like it's leaving it open for possibility and for space for something different than I might have imagined.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe gratitude and I don't know are the only ways to get out of dualistic thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. That feels like a good place to end.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I feel complete. I'm really sorry about the electronic mix-ups.
Oh, no problem. This is your first Facebook Live, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now I know how to do it. So, yeah.
Now you know how to do it. You'll have to come on the show again at another point.
Okay, I will do. Thanks so much, Lori. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Do you want to, I would love to, for you to give our viewers, for those who don't know you, how they might continue to follow you and, how they might work with you in some way. You want to share that?
Yeah, great. Sure. So you can get a hold of, if you'd like to come to a Medicine Path ceremony, you can go online. The website is medicinepath.org, all one word, medicinepath.org. If you go to medicinepath.com, it'll take you to the same website. so you don't even need to remember org or com. If you'd like to see me, if you'd like to be counseled for me, by me or whatever, you can get a hold of me very easily. My email is george.bertelstein, Bertelstein @gmail.com. Easy to get a hold of. My book is A Clear and Simple Prayer. It's available on Amazon. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. It's extremely helpful. It's not a book you have to read from the beginning to the end. If you open it anywhere, I promise you, you will find something that's extremely helpful and friendly and kind and loving. So, consider buying that book. And I hope to see all of you again soon. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you so much, George.
You're
Thanks
so
for coming
welcome.
on the show. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.